This show is sponsored by the National Association for Primary Education. Hello, my name is Mark Taylor and welcome to the Education on Fire podcast. The place for creative and inspiring learning from around the world. Listen to teachers, parents and mentors share how they are supporting children to live their best authentic life and are proving to be a guiding light to us all. Hello, I hope you are safe and well. Thank you for joining me. We are indeed in unprecedented times as people start to self-isolate, as the schools start to close, as we need to start looking after the vulnerable in our society as this coronavirus seems to be taking hold both here in the UK but also around the world, and at a fast speed governments are making really big bold decisions in terms of how they think we need to live our lives in terms of supporting everybody. And it's really quite an interesting view, isn't it, in terms of what's happening with people bulk buying around the world, even though we're being told we don't need to, and people taking responsibility for themselves, and some of the amazing things which are happening in terms of some of the great support people are giving to other people. So much gratitude for what you have now, and understanding, certainly in our house, that sense of family, that sense of actually looking after each other, the sense of just knowing that this isn't what it normally is, and that slightly takes you off balance, changes your perspective of life, and that's okay. You know, it just is going to feel a little bit rocky for a while, but I think the other side of it will be a really interesting, different looking world. And certainly here, where we're talking about education, you know, actually the schools being closed, everyone being homeschooled using things like Google Classrooms. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It's something which they would never have done before. But actually, I wonder whether actually with a few weeks of this going on, maybe the school world will never look the same again. You know, maybe there'll be more working from home. So that actually the children need to get up at the crack of dawn to get to school. One of the things our children have really enjoyed is just having that extra time in the morning to get themselves together. They're still following their lessons as they go through the day, but actually just that half an hour in the morning, not having to get dressed and go straight to school with all the travelling, has made a really big difference to them. They still have their work to do. They're still putting it in. They're still even interacting with their peers on some of the social network platforms. It's a really interesting dynamic that so much of it's the same, and yet so much of it is very different, and how you actually adapt to these things and share some of the possibilities. My performance has obviously all been cancelled. All my teaching in schools has obviously been cancelled. And we're just setting ourselves up now to start doing online lessons, drum lessons via Zoom. And that'll be the first time that I've actually done that. I know people who've done it before, and people who've just started and saying how successful it's been. And it's really great that actually, one, we've got the technology to do it now, but also that we're in a position to be able to support people going forward. You know, keep some continuity, keep some lessons going, keep some contact going, and actually the things that we love doing. And we certainly know that music is one of those things where we can really connect. Is going to be such an important thing, I think, from here on in, especially if the children are going to be off school for a number of weeks. Now, we share creative and inspiring learning all the time, and I think this is going to bring out some amazing situations which will change the education system from here on in. Things which we didn't even think were possible before, like all this working from home. The fact that the exams in the summer here in the UK have been cancelled, they're going to need to find another way of being able to grade. There's a whole group of people who are not going to take their exams as they were expecting in May and June. It's an unprecedented time, and it's interesting some of the conversations we've had about, I've wasted my time. Not wasted at all, because you've learnt all this stuff. You've actually put yourself in that position. Yes, it might look different in the end, but it's not about just taking an exam. It's about where it takes you. It's about the opportunities. It's about the learning. And I think people are really starting to see that you need to be grateful for where you are today. You need to accept where you are. You need to enjoy the journey and actually enjoy the people that are around you as you're doing it. And that's a really, really key factor. Now, as we go through, I'm going to make some comments and share some of my journey, but I'm going to do that on the Education on Fire Facebook page, because I think that'll be a great way of just being able to dip in and out and make the odd comment. The podcast that we've recorded already, and some of the ones I've got coming up, we may well mention the virus just in terms of how we know it's affecting education a little bit, but I think mainly I want to keep the inspiring and creative stuff that we're doing going on, because I think as we come out the other side of this, we'll be able to have a really good idea of what life looked like before, how it's going to have changed. But I think the essence of what we're trying to do, which is to actually have education be child focused, to really support what's going on, is the most important thing. And I think some of the life skills that people are going to need to really understand as we go through this, the sorts of things I wanted to share as part of our Patreon community campfire, our group of elders, that we wanted to give the children the skills they needed as they come out of school. They're really learning them firsthand at the moment, in terms of actually being able to adapt to things, to be accepting of where they are, not just now in terms of I need to learn my lessons, but how do the lessons look in a different way? One of the things that we've done already with our children is for their PE, they've just said, get some exercise during this sort of curriculum time. So we've got our skipping ropes out, we've got some of these things in, we're going to go and be able to play some tennis, we're going to make the most of that. And one of the other things we want to do is to really use our skills to make a big difference while we've got the time of being together at home. And in their music lessons, we're going to support them to learn their instruments, to start a new instrument, to really just give them a bit of flexibility to say, yes, you're going to do music during this time which the school is still setting that you have to do, but let's show everybody what you can do given the opportunity. Let's use the skills we have. Let's use this opportunity to give you something you wouldn't have been able to have done before. Turn this situation into a really positive one. And through having these conversations where you start to think, no, you can't because it has to look like this, one of the biggest things we've been able to say is it's not going to look like what this is in inverted commas anymore. The world is different and always will be different from now on in. Let's show people exactly how great it can be, what an opportunity it was, and actually use that moving forward. So thanks very much for tuning in. I know everyone's lives are going to look very different from now on in. I hope the podcast continuing will give you something of normality to latch on to. And if there's anything that we can do, if there's anything you want to share, please do just let me know, and I'm happy to give that a shout out here on the podcast. Just email me, mark@educationonfire.com, and I'm more than happy to do that. And if you need some support in terms of some of the resources that some of our guests have mentioned before, do just go onto the website. If you stick your email in there's a top 10 resources pack, and some of those things are really great things, like Sam Moynet's student breakthrough in terms of coaching and being able to support children's well-being, as well as some books that people have recommended, like The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, things like that. We've just got a few of those things there which might help you. Just go to the website and you'll be able to get hold of all those things, and it's all those extra things which I think are going to be the most supportive, as well as trying to keep our normality going as the best we can. So thank you so much for joining me, and keep safe, keep well, and we look forward to speaking to you again later in the week. Thanks for listening to the Education on Fire podcast. For more information of each episode and to get in touch, go to educationonfire.com. Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire.